Isn't she lovely? The painting depicts a woman who seems to be walking into the water while at the same time sitting and gazing out at the ocean, lost in contemplation. Something I do when I go to the ocean. Not naked though, but anyway, I can't help but wonder what thoughts are going through her mind. So stay tuned as I share with you the inspiration and concept behind creating this stunning work of art. But first, let's take a look at the materials I use. How do you create a realistic skin tone using pastels? It can be a bit challenging, but with practice, patience, and attention to details, you can do it. Starting out, I found a picture on Pinterest that I could use as a reference, and I just started observing and identifying the light source. So before you start drawing, carefully just observe your subject and pay close attention to the areas where light hits and where the shadows are cast. So you'll know where your primary light source is on the subject. And just understanding how it affects the objects or the subject and create highlights and shadows just based on that. And you have to look at the direction, the intensity, and the color of the light as well. And the secret to just drawing realistically is blending. I want the skin tone to be as realistic as possible. For example, when you look at someone's skin, you'll see it is not just one color, but a combination of various colors that come together to create the skin tone. Sometimes you might see a hint of purple, blue, yellow, or even pink or red. It all depends on the ethnicity of the person. In this painting, I am aiming for caramel skin tone, and I'm just layering all the brown like colors over and over again. Painting is doing the same steps repeatedly, just creating a build up. You start light, then you go dark. And to understand color blending, I spend a lot of time working with charcoal, and I find that this helps. Once I understand the values of light and shadow, going from dark to light, then everything becomes easier. It is so much easier working in black and white than colors because sometimes colors just make things complicated. And as you seen in the beginning of the video, I inverted the picture from color to black and white. So that gave me a much better understanding of breaking down the values within the picture. You have to make sure that you choose colors that closely match the skin tone that you want to capture. Often you will need a range of values going from light to dark, which you can do with just one color like in charcoal, but you just have to know how to gauge it. And also how to create smooth transitions So you'll start with a light layer of one color, or the lightest color, and gradually build it up like layers upon layers to create depth. And then you blend the layers using your fingers or any blending tools for a smoother transition. When blend together, it's like these colors, they just create the form and give the illusion of a third dimension. It is very fascinating that you can recreate an image on a two-dimension surface by just playing with colors. For blending, I normally use makeup pad, Q-tips, tissue, paper, brushes, but my favorite to use are my fingers because I find that it helps to bind the pastel to the paper. And when I use a makeup pad, it kind of helps to lift out some of the colors, so I use that for when I want to create like a lighter tone or a mid-tone or half-tone. Blending is my favorite part of the process because as you progress, you see the transformation before your eyes. Therefore, I try not to delete any of the blending footage because it is so soothing just to watch the colors melt into each other on the paper. It is very satisfying. When adding shadows, remember that less is often best. I'm gonna just leave it at that. Start with a lighter touch and just gradually build up the shadowed areas. You can darken them as you go along or as needed, but just be cautious not to overdo it. I use dark brown to add shadows with a touch of black charcoal. This will give your drawing or painting a more realistic look. You don't want to overdo the black though. Another thing you can use instead of black, it's going to be like Payne's gray, which is a dark blue, but we'll get into that. But as it helps to give the illusion of the three dimension, and that is definitely what we want. When working with colors, it is a bit difficult because you have to think about the color combination and ask yourself, like, how can I create just or give the illusion of the skin? Another secret to a more realistic drawing is getting rid of outlines. You have to find ways just to soften the edges between the light and the shadow area to create a smooth transition from one color to the next. So pay close attention to these areas. You can use your finger or a brush just to soften or blend the outlines. In the end, it all comes down to experimenting and practice. Know that you're not going to get it all in one day or on your first attempt. Because even the old masters spent a lot of time practicing. There is really no magic formula, just mere interest and the desire to learn. The more you spend time practicing and just trying out different techniques and playing with colors, you will find out what works best for you. I'm laying the foundation for her afro. I used a dark umber to create the undertone, and then use a palette knife just to blend it out to make it smooth along with the blending stump. These are great tools to give just different effect compared to when using my fingers. Then I go in and just add in some more charcoal and finesse it with a pencil and my fingers. When I started out the drawing, the concept I had in mind was this woman walking down a dark path towards the light, wearing clothes, of course. However, once I started drawing, all that went out the window. A part of me wanted to go with the original concept, but I have to remember that this is a practice and also experimenting. Moreover, creativity is all about having the courage to follow my inspiration and the nudges. So when you get out of your way and give yourself the freedom to create, you never know where you might end up. You might just create your next masterpiece. It's all about just letting go of the need to control the outcome. I was also meditating up on the question, what am I afraid of? The more I pondered up on this question, it is the more I realize that I often worry about others' perception of my art and me. Because of this, I often don't show some of my work or certain side of it. And I tend to stay quiet during moments when I'm supposed to speak up. This is something I had to come to terms with. Hence, this piece is about the freedom of being you. It is a reminder to take up space. She seems to be walking into the water while simultaneously sitting, gazing out at the ocean, just lost in contemplation. And I really cannot help but wonder what thoughts are going through her mind or what has led her here. She thinks about how far she has come and how much she survived. She's thankful to be alive. Whenever she's feeling lost or overwhelmed, she goes to the ocean. Its vastness and power reminder of her own strength and resilience. The ocean is her medicine, providing her with the solace and clarity she needs to move forward. The water is a refuge,